Good morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, you know it does not work without you guys. Well, we are actually at Hump Day. We're at the middle of the week. It's all downhill from here. And hopefully everybody has a great Hump Day. For the Cowboys to be successful this weekend, it's all going to boil down to the defense being able to stop Dalvin Cook. The run game. It's going to be key. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm not afraid of Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins this year he's been all right. I won't say he's been spectacular. I won't say he's been great. He has relied on having a running game, and they've actually gotten hot. They've won, I think, 3 games in a row, including beating Green Bay. But it's on the back of Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins got 17 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He's all right. He's all right. But if you can stop the run, that's going to be key. And hopefully having Antoine Woods and, of course, my man, the Canadian bulldozer in there, and Aldon Smith, and D-Law, who actually has turned out to be the third-rated defensive end on the season, you start feeling a little bit better about that. But the part that's been missing has really been the linebacker play. And interesting, somebody shared with me this morning via email a tweet from Jean Jacques Taylor, who's saying that the Cowboys at the end of the season will ask Jalen Smith to take a pay cut or will release him. I want to go through this article a little bit here and give you my take on it. Okay, it's an interesting read, and I recommend you reading it. Okay, right now, based on how he's played since the start of the 2019 season, the Cowboys will either ask him to take a significant pay cut or they'll release him. You can follow the money. The NFL, especially in a season like 2020, when the salary cap floor could be as low as 175, and quarterback Dak Prescott is expected to count $37.7 million on a 1-year deal unless the Cowboys can work out a long term, which is true. Now, currently, we have about $28 million left over that'll roll over the next year, so that's a start. And that's before you do make any of these cuts. And so, if you're saying, okay, Jalen Smith he's on notice that the next 7 games, he really needs to play well to change the narrative. And we're going to dig a little bit deeper here. Even though Jerry Jones went on, last week saying that Jalen Smith is a cornerstone of this team. Okay, so let's go on. Some of you may be shocked that releasing a player who signed a 5-year, $64 million extension a little more than a year ago is in consideration. It's not. The deal contained $35 million worth of guaranteed, and $19 was guaranteed at signing. The reality is Smith doesn't have any more guarantee left on the deal unless he's on the roster the 5th day of the 2021 league season. If he is, Smith will count $7.2 million, and that becomes fully guaranteed, and that goes for 2022. Okay, so you see his point. He's saying that if you cut him, you've already paid all the bonus money, the guaranteed money. That nothing is guaranteed from this point forward. Okay, if Dallas releases Smith before June 1st, he'll count $9.4 million against the cap in dead money. So here's the thing that I really just don't see where this actually makes sense, because he's on the books for $9.8 million. His salary for next year on the cap is $9.8 million if he's on the roster 5 days into the league year. So the savings, wait for it, is $400,000. $400,000, it's not like a big savings. You're talking about having a $9.8 million salary hit to have him on the roster. You're only saving $400,000 to release him. And unless he's a cancer to the team and you're saying that he is making you worse, you can't replace, his production. He gets a lot of tackles. That's not the problem is not getting the tackles. We'll get down here further into it. I don't see saving $400,000 being a big win with Jalen Smith. But let me go on further with this. As for replacement for Smith, he's had really one outstanding season, and that was 2018. And you could find a comparable replacement in free agency or rounds 2 or 3 in the draft. Now, I'm not disputing that you can find it in the draft, because that's how you're going to be able to afford him. But if you're talking about free agency, now you're talking about spending $9.4 million in dead money and then turning around and then having to spend more money on top of it. It's going to cost you more to replace him than to try and coach him up. In 2018, his first full-time starter, Smith had 121 tackles, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and he also had 6 tackles for loss and 6 quarterback hits. That was a monster season. That was. And the Cowboys, after that season, decided, you know what? We're going to take care of this guy. We're going to get him to a long-term deal because we think that he's going to be playing like that every year and it's going to cost us more down the road. So we're going to get ahead of the curve. And this is the mistake that the Cowboys have made. It's funny because yesterday I did a video about Aldon Smith where the Cowboys are at a crossroads. Aldon Smith, not playing for 4 years, has played extremely well. And he's on that 1-year deal. So now you have to... I didn't open for business. I'm sorry. I'm a little out of it today. You have to pay him or let him go. And too many times the Cowboys have paid guys after one great year, and then they turn around and they're nothing like they were before, and they end up getting in cap hell. So you have that situation. All right. So you look at that season, and it was like, no question, this guy's a baller. But then you come to this season. Smith makes a lot of tackles, 89 so far this season, but too many of them have not been impact plays. He's been non-existent in the pass rush this year with just half a sack. The Cowboys expect more and they need more. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. Smith has proved he's durable. He's played more than 90% of the defensive snaps this year and of the past 2 seasons, and 99% of the snaps this season. But he's had just one outstanding performance, 14 tackles, including 3 for a loss and a win over the Giants. The rest of the time has been meh. And he's part of the run defense that has struggled much of the season. Have we forgot giving up 307 yards to Cleveland? Heck. So now part of this is it Jalen Smith or is it also the scheme? And he's not a scheme match. He's a guy that's better to chase down plays. And I think this reading and reacting is not good for him. He's not seeing the plays. He's never done it before. And it may be that he can pick it up. I don't know. But he did play better. The team has played better the last 2 weeks. Really, I think you have to see going forward. But the thing with Jalen Smith is, and let me see if I can, there's a whole lot to this article's real long, but there's one last part I wanted to get. The scheme is made of tentative in a sport where one false step is the difference between making a tackle for a loss and allowing a 10-yard run. We've seen that. There's also a sense around the star that Smith is more worried about swiping after big plays and the business ventures than being a difference maker on the field. And there's too much video, especially early in the season, of him jogging instead of sprinting. Understandably, he's not a bad guy by any stretch, but there has nothing close to the guy the Cowboys thought they were getting with an extension a year ago. He has 7 games to state his case, or he may be wearing another team's uniform next season. So, again, this goes back to the thing of, I hate to say it, but Doc Walker from, former Hog. I like quoting him because he's real. But he says, it's hard to be hungry when your refrigerator's full. It's hard to be hungry when your refrigerator's full. And too many times we've gone through and we said, oh man, we can't live without that guy. And it comes back to bite us in the ass. But in the same sense, I don't see the Cowboys cutting him to save $400,000. That's chump change. It was different when they cut Des Bryant and looked and said, we're going to save $8 million. Or when they let go DeMarcus Ware, cut him and saved $8 million. $400,000. And unless you got a guy on the team that you look at and say is going to replace him, or unless you deem him not only a good player on the field, that he is also creating a negative atmosphere, you don't cut him. Now, will Jalen Smith be willing to take a pay cut? Well, I think Brandon Carr took a pay cut. And I think Doug Free took a pay cut with the Cowboys. But based on what the Cowboys have done in recent history, where I've questioned for 2 years Tyrone Crawford, and don't get me wrong, I've always loved Tyrone Crawford. People will say, but yeah, Tyrone Crawford is a team captain. Tyrone Crawford, can play tackle or defensive end. Tyrone Crawford does a lot of the dirty work. Tyrone Crawford, a lot of things he does doesn't show up on the stats. But you look at that, $9.8 million, 2 years in a row, and you haven't really gotten a lot out of that money. And this is where the Cowboys keep hurting themselves. We've gotten to be so top heavy with a lot of major contracts between the offensive line and Jalen Smith and, D-Law and things, that if they don't perform or if they get injured, the amount of money that's left over to pay the next tier is not good. See, New England, forget this year. This year is bad because we've had so many guys that sat out because of COVID. And, of course, Tom Brady. But what New England has always done is they're not top heavy. They're not paying a whole lot of guys that had a couple of good seasons or one good season. They let them go, get a compensatory pick. And they realize it's strength in numbers. That guy who's second string on the team more than likely is going to have to play because some of these guys are going to get hurt. And we got to make sure that it's not about having 22 really good guys. It's about having 40 guys who can all step in and play and win. Because it's all about the team. And this is where I think the Cowboys have been missing the boat. We get all these great players that are great, that are Pro Bowlers, that are balling out. And we take care of them, but we don't have the other guys when they're not there. All right, y'all. That's all I got to say for us this morning. That's all I got for you this morning. I have my brother's funeral today, and I appreciate so many of you out there that have wished me well and had such nice comments and things. And the ones that have had negative things to say about this and stuff, I'm assuming that you haven't gone through a loss. And I'm happy for you that you haven't, that you haven't lost a brother or a parent or, a child. But there's a lot of people out there who have. And how you grieve, people will do things differently. I continue doing the Joe Boo Sports Report because I'm amongst my friends, for the most part. There's a few assholes out there, and you guys probably know that I'm talking to you that are. In a way, a lot of us have been able to get out feelings that they've had of loss. In 2020 has been a year of loss for so many people. And we're all grieving. And I'm grieving, they're grieving, and those of you who don't understand that or, want to say that this is sympathy, or pity videos, well, feel free to not be here. That's the great thing about being American and YouTube and all these things and all these different YouTube channels and stuff. You have the right to watch what you like. You don't have to. Nobody says that any single person has to be here other than me. If you don't like what I'm talking about, I'm okay with that. There's a lot of channels that I don't like what they're talking about, so I don't watch them. And so that's where I am right now. And all those who wish me well and sent me cards and well wishes and messages and everything else, I really and truly appreciate all of you because you're helping me get through this, and I'm hoping that I can help others in the same way. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you soon.